stories, and one Let's Not Meet story from Reddit. I'm going to read them on my iPad. It's my shiny new iPad that I've had for a couple weeks now. I don't know what the point in that was, but anyway, just flexing on having a new iPad. Oh yeah, I remember there was something else I was going to say. If you would like me to read any sort of like ghost story, paranormal story, true crime story, and you have your version or anything, or like if it's a story that happened to you and you would like to send me a script, as it were, please reach out to me in the comment section, and I'll let you know where to send that to, and I'll read it out on a future video. Obviously if it's true crime, I'll probably do it on a True Crime Tuesday. If it's something paranormal, I'll probably do it on a Friday video. I have read a viewer story before a while ago. Anyway, I'm saying too much, so that is usually a sign that I should go straight into things. The first story that I've got for you is called The Queen Mary. I will link these with the sources in the description, and it's submitted by Sadie Sun Home. The December before the pandemic, my husband and I attended a party on the Queen Mary and rented a room on the ship for the occasion. I was very excited as I'd never been on a ship like that before. I had also heard stories about one of the pools being haunted by the ghost of a little girl. After the party ended around 11 p.m, we changed our clothes into something more comfortable because I wanted to wander the ship and explore. They kicked everyone off the ship who wasn't staying the night there. We spent a couple of hours wandering that amazing ship inside and out before we finished up. We went back down to the level the party had been on, only now it was completely empty. Same level as the pool, by the way, which they had closed up, but you could still look through the windows, which I absolutely did. I spent a good 5 minutes with my face pressed up to those windows before we walked on, and I didn't see anything. After walking down a short hallway, we were in the enormous empty ballroom, which had been so bustling just a few hours before. My husband picked up a broken drumstick left behind from one of the bands. Just then, from the direction of the pool, came a loud child's laugh coming towards us, as if a little kid was running our direction down the hallway, laughing loudly. I immediately lock eyes with my husband. It's just a kid, he says dismissively, but there is no kid. We are alone on that entire floor, and I look at my watch and it's 1:01 a.m. We got back to our room, seeing no one else along the way. Once in bed, I started googling about the Queen Mary ghost stuff. I found a forum that mentioned a common occurrence is hearing children's laughter around the pool area. We then discussed how we never saw any children that night, even during the party, which was for 21-year-old and over. So why would we? We went to sleep feeling in awe and a tad eerie. I can still hear that laughter in my mind as clear as day. That one is a little bit spooky. The next one's a bit of a longer one, and it is called Hissing Entity, and it is or was submitted by John Paul 37. So I am not 100% positive this counts as a ghost story, but here goes. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I started hearing a light hissing type sound in my bedroom that I shared with my brother, who is a year and a half older. It would start just as it got dark out, and it was very faint at first and would progress slowly over the hours, becoming louder and louder as the night went on. The hisses were anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds apart, sometimes about a minute or so apart. This occurred for about a month or so, but after the first his was closer to the door, but still in the middle of the room, if that makes sense. If you're looking at our beds from the door, they'd be to the middle right, and there was a bureau directly to your right, about 4 feet away, and another straight ahead against the wall that was directly in front of me when looking from my bed lying down. So I'm trying to go back to sleep, but the hissing was getting louder and is not helping at all. Suddenly, out of my peripheral view, at this point I'm lying down facing my brother, kind of to my right, I see something moving and instantly felt this sense of dread that made me freeze, not only in motion but my thoughts too. I could only focus on what was moving but couldn't bring myself to look or think to wake my brother up. It had me completely enthralled for a little while. Very tough to explain the feeling. Anyway, after about what seemed like an eternity, but likely only a couple of minutes, I was able to turn my head to see what it was that was moving, and nothing was there. The hissing had gone back to a lower volume, and I wasn't completely frozen in fear anymore. I actually get back to sleep just after it started getting light out. The following morning, I convinced myself that I was either dreaming or overly stimulated imagination from being so scared. A few days later, the same thing happened, but this time I was lying on my back, and I could see clearly and directly in front of me on the bureau was this figure, a dark, smoky figure with these huge, reddish, deep orange eyes. It seemed to be kind of a shifting in and out of reality, like it was trying to cross over from a different plane of existence. It was opening its mouth when a hissing noise came out as well. It was about 2 feet tall and resembled what I can only explain as a goblin or a demon. I am again frozen in fear as I'm watching this, wondering if it's real, if I'm dreaming. Anything else would explain what it is I'm experiencing, and then I wake up. This is now twice it has happened, and hissing still happens every night like clockwork, sometimes more intense than others, but terrifying all the same. For a few nights after this, I had to sleep in the same bed as my brother and made him face me because I was so scared. Then 2 nights after, I'm sleeping in my own bed again. It happens again, only this time it has taken form and it's flying, jumping from one bureau to the other right over our feet, staring at me the entire time with those damn eyes, hissing, always hissing. I can see its black wings, like a bat's wings, partially torn on one of them, still frozen. I finally let out the loudest scream I could courage up, and within seconds my mother is at the door asking what's going on. My father is 2 steps behind. My mother tries to turn on the light, but it won't turn on, and aside from my scream, I am still completely frozen and can't move or answer anyone. The entity is now on the bureau that is 4 feet away from my parents to the right and slightly behind them. They are looking at me to see if I'm sleeping, and this thing is looking straight at me the entire time, but not hissing anymore. Once I realised it wasn't hissing, I yelled, "Behind you," and both my parents turned to look at my brother to make sure he was okay, and he wakes up from the commotion. I look back towards the bureau and nothing, no more entity, no more hissing, nothing. After that, there was no more experiences, and I was still scared for months afterwards. I'm not sure what this thing was, but there are 3 possibilities I can come up with. 1, I was dreaming or imagined it all, but that does not explain my mother hearing and my brother acknowledging and hearing the hissing noise. 2, it was real. Something was present in our house and terrorising me. Or 3, my brother was conjuring this thing unknowingly in his unconscious/sleep and manifesting it was manifesting in real life. That was a creepy story. It does sound a bit like sleep paralysis though, like if you're gonna look at reception playful 5158, which sounds like maybe a throwaway account, but I don't know. I'm not good with Reddit. I think I should start this off by saying I'm not the greatest storyteller, so sorry about that in advance. Also, I'm from the UK. He lived in one country, me another in Britain. I never met him until this incident. So I met Tom through this app called Geeking. I won't lie, the place was a breeding ground for paedophiles and just in general awful human beings, and of course 13-year-old me was using this app daily. I started talking to him about his mental health issues and the classic dynamic of a young girl who just wants to help their older boy who she has a crush on, so then becomes his therapist begins. What I learned over the years of being his emotional support victim, Tom was 2 years older than me, had an abusive upbringing with many mental health issues because of it, and that he struggled with. Our heavily toxic, verbally abusive relationship was very on and off again for over 2 years, till I put it to an end in the summer of 2019 after he threatened to R-word me, blocking him on everything and removing him out of my life. Winter 2019, I'm working in a cafe, still living in the deep country with my parents, hardly posting on social media when I get a message. It's from an unknown Instagram account. I really wish I'd screenshot the first message, but it pretty much went like, "Hey, it's Tom, we haven't spoken in a while, but I'm going to a concert this weekend in a city nearest me and thought about you." I texted back to be nice and just saying, "Oh, I'm doing well," but ended it with, "I would rather not stay friends." He says he's comfortable with this and the conversation ends. It's 2 days after I'm working my 5-hour shift in the cafe. I come in through the back door like I always do and see a pile of what I think are old clothes at the edge of the window. I don't think anything of it, do my shift and grab my stuff and leave out the door. I walk down the street, still feeling completely safe, until I'm grabbed by my bag by this 6'2", I'm 5'3", at this time, man who I vaguely recognise is smiling down at me. He says my name and another huge wave of fear kicks in as I immediately recognise his voice. It's Tom. I don't even give him the time of day to speak. I just shook him off and started power walking down the street towards a shop where I knew my dad was. Looking back, I kind of think I should have run straight back to my work, but as a 16-year-old who has never been in a confrontational / emotionally terrifying situation before, I just ran straight to a parent. Tom follows me, shouting my name. I managed to lose him and reach my dad. After this, I got a message from the Instagram account saying that he was sorry, but he was in love with me and needed to have me, which still to this day makes me sick to think about. He also mentioned that he thought it was romantic that he travelled all this way, him being at the bottom of his country and me at the top of mine. Blocked that account and later made a new one. I also contacted my work about it. That's why my boss checked the security cameras outside and told me that he was sitting there since 8 AM. I started work at 10 AM. He was the pile of clothes. I blamed myself for a really long time and shrugged it off as not that big of a deal. However, the more he got in contact with me after, the more petrified I felt. I'm now in therapy. I have received texts from him with messages that he's changed, he's sorry, he's a Christian now, and the latest one is that he has a terminal illness and needs to see me one last time. Since changing my number and email, I've not heard from him. I've been told by others that going to the police might make me feel less safe, as they can't do anything now as it's over the internet. I'm back to feeling safe now, which is great, but Tom, let's never meet again. Now, I'm sure the police could do something like that. Sounds very similar actually to a true crime case I covered, the one where they'd met on the forum for the game and then he'd shown up at their apartment and then murdered the girl's boyfriend because he really wanted to be with her. But yeah, that sounds like that could end up being situation. Anyway, that is all that I have for you today with the ghost stories and the Let's Not Meet story. I really hope that you've enjoyed something a little different. It's something that I haven't done in a while. Let me know if you'd like to see more of this type of content, because it's super easy to make and it makes me feel like I'm not just doing a ramble every week. Anyway, I will see you again next week. Good night.